poverty is a really good way of learning how to be a writer.
Well, how many scientists are failed writers?
Oh, almost all of them.
As I say, you began writing the Doctor Who books. And when did you start working for the major industry? I mean, actually, Doctor Who Weekly back then would have actually been a Marvel comic.
It was. This was while it was still Marvel. I did a bit for the magazine under David Bishop and then under Alan Barnes, or maybe the other way around. I sort of wandered off from it because I got a bit disenchanted actually, and I had other things to write by then. And I've never written for 2000 AD proper, which is still one of those little boxes. It's like playing a game of Civilization, and that's Ironclads. That's the one that you never get to, the technology you never get to do. You know? I wouldn't mind writing 2000 AD, but I think it's a bit late now, really. And I kind of, but no, it's an easy route for any new writer to copy how I got into comics. Basically, Mark Miller really liked my Doctor Who episode, and so sent me an email saying, I liked your Doctor Who episode, would you like to write for Marvel Comics? And, you know, as I say, anybody can do that.
All you have to do is just basically write
a Doctor Who episode.
A Hugo-nominated Doctor Who episode.
Absolutely.
So that's interesting. Are you more pleased with getting the Hugo nomination for the Doctor Who episode or the Hugo nomination for your comics?
I'm more pleased with getting the one for prose, actually, which had me leaping up and down. I literally did a little Snoopy dance when the nominations were read out. Prose is where I hope to end up, but I want to finish my career as a novelist, and getting a Hugo nomination for prose was a vast lifetime achievement that I thought I was nowhere near getting yet. The comics was a great and wonderful surprise too. I hate to boast, but because we've only had a Hugo for comics for the last 2 years, I'm the only person ever to be Hugo nominated for prose, television and comics. This is until... This will last until Neil Gaiman's episode of Doctor Who next year. Considering Doctor Who wins the Hugo almost every time it's entered for it, and Neil Gaiman wins the Hugo every time he's entered for it, put those two big brands together.
Considering some of the episodes of Doctor Who that were nominated this year, it's hardly possible that anything could get in.
Well, actually, I was just out there with Phil Ford, who wrote the this year's Hugo winning Doctor Who episode. Do you want to go meet him? I'm glad he's left. Oh. He was 2 minutes from being in this audience.
Oh, he could have beaten me up.
Absolutely fair. He just put his arm and gone, well, actually...
Actually, must have been because we met in Montreal last year, and you did do a rather nasty thing. You were presenting one of the... In fact, you were presenting 2 of the Hugo Awards.
Yeah, I was presenting film.
And you were doing the television bit where you made a big thing about, this nomination for Doctor Who, and then another Doctor Who, and then you announced the winner. You deliberately paused after the word Doctor before saying horrible sing-along to Joss Whedon.
Well, this year it was Doctor Who up against Dollhouse, so I paused after the syllable doll. Which didn't go down as well. I didn't have the laugh there, but it just sounded like I had a speech impediment.
It's unfortunate. So, when you're actually working on a comic brief, I mean, do you actually approach the comics company first with your basic idea, or do they? Well, obviously in this case, they contact you.
With Marvel and then with DC, they tend to throw projects at you because both of the companies are a sort of confederation of lots and lots of little independent offices, all of whom, coordinate with each other to produce a line. So you get emails from different ones saying, would you like to write on this or that? And you sort of have to prioritise them and decide what you want to do. And, I've had a brilliant time working with both companies. You do get blogs about comics folk who've gone, they made me change the colour of Iron Man's helmet and so I was out of there, how dare they? And I think coming from television, we're sort of pre-bullied. The things I'm used to, nothing in comics has ever come anywhere near that. I found comics folk on both sides of the divide to be absolutely lovely. Which is a bit of a, it's a wussy standpoint. I'm not sure I'll get any column inches in Rich Johnston for that.
Well, that's you are exclusively signed to DC now.
DC, yeah. apart from the Stan Lee book for Boom Studios, which is out on Wednesday.
Ah.
And there was we got a special exclusion for that because it's Stan.
It's a bit like the old studio system, again, an exclusive contract with one film.
I am like Weir Garson in so many ways.
We had seen the photographs. So okay, so you're contacted, you're approached by, say, DC or Marvel. They assign an artist, or do you get offered a number of artists to work with?
They sort of give you a little choice. They say, how would you feel about? And in the case of Knight and Squire, we went through several American artists, with me keeping on saying, I really like a British person because this is going to be so packed full of British references that I think explaining them to an American would take longer than... Oh yes, I believe we have. Oh, Yanick, the wonderful cover artist on Knight and Squire, Yanick.
And we do have Jimmy Broxton somewhere in the building. He will be joining us.
So did you get your Jonathan Ross signature?
Your what?
You were getting Jonathan Ross to sign something.
Oh yeah, that's what I was doing. It's a long night though. It's like forever.
We've been talking to Paul about how he got into comics. Perhaps you can give us a bit of background on how you originally got into the comics and became a professional.
I was coming. My first few jobs was TV show adaptation because I have this realistic background in illustration, so I could do portraits and stuff. And yeah, my first few jobs was X-Files adaptations for Topps Comic. Now it doesn't exist anymore, but I've managed to get these jobs because at the time comic was in really good shape and they were looking for cheap artists. But all the cheap artists were very strongly influenced by Joe Madureira and Jet Matsuda and all these Capcom cool guys that were doing X-Men at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them could really produce the likeness figure that Fox needed for their product. So I was super cheap and not good, but I could do faces. So I've managed to...
And make them look like the characters they were meant to be.
Yeah, because at the end, Fox had to look at every pages and bitch about everything. So.
You have not seen some of his best covers for this series yet. The cover to issue 5, which features a prominent London double-decker bus, is just a thing of beauty. And I think, shall we? Is Jimmy around?